Looks like you terrifying people made it past Friday the 13th because today is Saturday the 14th of October. And in this 31 days of Halloween video, we are going to start talking Cobweb. Yes, the new movie with Homelander in it. So enjoy and we'll see you on the next one. 1 week before Halloween, a young boy Peter walks into his elementary school. He has no friends. When he gets home from school, he practices piano with his mother. And then he plays all alone in his room, throwing the ball up against his wall. As Peter lays down to fall asleep, the moonlight shines bright through his window and shines right on the big wall in his room. As he falls asleep, he hears soft scratching coming from the wall, and then he hears knocking. He turns around real fast and looks at the wall. He keeps on hearing it. Light knocking at 1:45 in the morning. He puts his head down on his pillow and closes his eyes. And then a loud knock comes from the wall. He bounces up out of bed with his eyes wide open, looking at the wall. And then he takes a deep breath in as he is really scared. Soft thud comes from the wall. Peter gets out of bed and runs over to the light switch and turns it on. He walks over to the window and he looks outside into his backyard. There is a small pumpkin patch and there is a swing that is swinging in the wind. The shed door is slamming from the wind. He closes his blinds to his window and turns around and he looks at the wall. He slowly makes his way over to the wall step by step. Soft knocking comes from the wall. Peter puts his ear up against the wall to listen. He taps the wall 3 times with his fingers. Nothing happens. And then he taps it again 3 times. And then all of a sudden, 3 loud knocks come from the other side of the wall. He runs into his parents' bedroom. He wakes up his mom and dad and he says, "I heard something." "What did you hear?" his mother says. And they slowly walk back into his bedroom. She says, "This wall," and she knocks on it and nothing happens. And then she knocks on it again. "I don't hear anything," she says. She asks Peter, "Do you?" And he shakes his head no. This is an old house. There is bound to be some bumps in the night. And you have a beautiful imagination. And all those scary things, well, they're just in your head. And she kisses him and tells him good night. In the morning, Peter gets on his school bus where he gets tripped and pushed down on the floor by the bully kids, and they're laughing at him. His class starts and they are introduced to a new substitute teacher named Mrs. Devine. She introduces herself and the bully looks at Peter and says, "I can't wait till recess." When recess comes, Peter stays in his classroom and tells Mrs. Devine that he doesn't like recess. She asks him, "You don't want to play with your friends?" He shakes his head no, indicating that he has no friends. She says, "Well, you can help me with the Halloween decorations." And all of a sudden, the spider climbs on the desk and it scares him and he jumps up. But the teacher puts the glass cup over the spider and then a piece of paper underneath it to trap the spider in the glass cup. And they walk over to the window to let it out as if they were freeing a spider from a trapped place. Later that night, Peter and his parents are having dinner and he asks them, "I want to go trick-or-treating. I want to dress up like the other kids." And his father says, "Well, Pete, you know that house at the end of the lane with the boarded windows?" "Yeah, what about it?" "Well, a few years ago, before you were born, a little girl who lived there, well, she vanished on Halloween night. What happened to her? Well, I really don't know. She went out trick or treating and she disappeared. And now Mother looks at him and says, it was a very traumatic event for everybody, and even for me. I do not like to remember it. And Peter looks up at them and says, am I gonna disappear? Mother reaches out her hand and grabs Peter's arm and says, of course not. We would never let that happen to you, ever.